Since we're here and we're started, everybody, welcome to the Wednesday Board Game Live. Our special guest today is Kylie from Games Unlimited, which is one of the most fantastic retail board game establishments in the United States, out of Pittsburgh. And if you didn't know, Kylie won all the board game Oscars this year to prove it.
Half the board game Oscars, yes.
Was there any of the board game Oscars that you're like, oh, I really wanted that one too?
No. I mean, honestly, getting Retailer of the Year is the highlight, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the Academy Award for Best Picture. So, like, once you get that, you're like, maybe we missed out on Best Cinematography. That's okay.
Are you
But
picking on role-playing games again? Like, do not pick on best cinematography.
But I mean, the other category one, if I were to say of the other three categories, which one would I hope to win? Most innovative, best innovation in board game stores, retail stores, is the one to get. I mean, that's honestly.
Yeah.
That's how I pitched myself. Was like, hey, look at this thing that we're doing. What's up, Jordan? Look at this thing that we're doing that on TikTok and the other social medias that's garnered us a following, that's gotten the attention of not just fans and consumers of board games, but other people in the media, other people in the industry that didn't know me, and has sparked so many great conversations.
And it's the
Hopefully
beer.
positive
Like,
ones.
if you want to
Positive
talk
ones.
about about
Yes.
innovations, it's also the beard. That is so critically important right now when you are
Yeah.
faced with any kind of challenge. There are a lot of things that you have the opportunity to do. Anything that has great turmoil also has great opportunity, and
100%.
understanding how to take advantage of that is almost at the core of business, but almost especially like game retail. Like, what can you
How to
take
game the
advantage
system.
of? Right, like, how do you game the system? Like, we are very well suited for this. All right, Kylie, so if folks don't know, and because we post these on YouTube, give the 30-second version of you and the 30-second version of Games Unlimited in Pittsburgh.
Sure. So my background is in academia. I was a philosophy professor for a lot of years and eventually left academia, looking for something to do. About, I guess, 15, 16 years ago, discovered modern board gaming, thought it was amazing, was immediately mad that, I didn't discover that until my 30s, and decided maybe I should open a game store. Part of how I discovered it, though, was through Games Unlimited. I got to know the owner. He was getting ready to retire. So he said, hey, do you want to come on? I'll teach you the ropes and sell you the business. So I've officially owned it for the last 10 years. And it's just been a wild ride. And the store itself was opened in 1979. So it's one of the oldest stores in the country. And we moved during COVID to a bigger building, which has been a phenomenal success. And I've tried to create the space that I wish I'd had, the sort of game store that's focused on board games that would have introduced me to board games earlier in life had I been to stores like that. And then I try to help educate other retailers on how to do that, how to make board games in particular front and center a huge part of your business.
Okay, so that is amazing, and you're amazing. The store has moved twice in its 40-year history, correct? Or is it three
No,
times?
just once, just once.
Just once?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
the store that I bought was in the original location that it had been in for 35 years at that point or so. Yeah.
All right, so one of the opportunities that stores have, and it also comes with a certain risk, is moving, especially into a bigger space or a more elaborate space. It is one of the questions about, like, how do I change how I'm doing business? How do I hit the reset button? And what kind of opportunities that I can take?
Yeah.
All month, we've been just exploring this state of the industry and exciting things in and around that. And in particular, so we went from, hey, content creators and small publishers, but we're going to talk about retail, because retail really went through the cycle of crushing adversity, then it booming into opportunity. in and around the dark ages. Like,
Mm.
like 2020 had a lot of stores, if they were on like rocky footing or had very specific niches that were
Mhm.
unflexible, they had to shut down or
Yeah.
ended up being the death blow that made it so that they could never cover. But everybody else who made it had like a banner year in like either 2021 or 2022. And that was crazy. Like the gaming doubling in size. And so we're now in another period of unrest. And so what is your prediction of like what's going to happen in the short term? What should be
Sure.
people thinking about either as consumers or as retailers or as content creators, because you're all three? Yeah.
Um, I mean, one of the things that I've come to realize in the past week, and I was actually just at a convention where I got a chance to talk to a lot of other people in the industry and publishers and hear about some of the things going on. So one of the things that I'm realizing, there's a lot of anxiety, fully justified anxiety about what's going to go on, but the companies that you've seen closed now, like this is really early days. We are projecting into the future, and like my fear is not what's going to happen next week or next month for Games Unlimited. My fear is what is the holiday season going to look like for Games Unlimited. So for me, you've got to stretch out, right? And the same is true for most publishers. I mean, the most immediate issues have to do with publishers who like literally have things sitting on the docks and haven't budgeted for increased tariffs. Like that's the immediate. But for everyone else, it's like, well, I need to pause. I need to slow down. Maybe not print that thing. Maybe not ship it yet, and that's going to have effects later, right? So I think one of the things to realize is that what you've seen happen so far, anytime, and this was true of COVID as well, when there is a sort of global out of left field thing that's going to have severe negative repercussions for your business, that's where operating a healthy business with healthy cash flow becomes important. So I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not blaming anyone, but I think the companies that have folded already just didn't have the margin, right? However they were running their business, they didn't have the margin to weather, a storm like this. That may be a blip, maybe not. We don't know yet, but in the long term, what's happened so far has only been a blip. I can speak for retail. Actually, we just saw earlier today. I saw that Boardlandia closed. Well, I don't know Boardlandia very well, but I know they're a deep discounter. Deep discounters operate on very slim margins, right? Like when you're trying to chase price as your value proposition, you have to sell lower than everybody else. And of course, everybody else is like wants a lower price, but everyone's got their overhead and their things they need to do. So the lower your price goes, the less margin you're going to have. No matter what you're paying your people, no matter what your overhead, no matter what other benefits that you may have, you
And
got a
on
low
top of
price.
that, and on top of that, models that are based on lower, like the lowest possible sales point, also have to have the most visibility because they
Mhm.
can only make it happen in volume.
Right.
And the environment that got poisoned for them early is where people are participating in social media and game media. And that area became so much more competitive over the
Right.
last 18 months. Like, it's really, I know you don't mean this in any way, shape, or form. I am in no way saying this, but it is like there's a lot of reasons a publisher or an institution like Board Game Landia could get themselves in an unhealthy situation that has
Absolutely.
nothing to do with like their lack of effort or whatever. It is usually about not adjusting their business model to the situation or
Mm.
not having a business model that will allow them to compensate for a change in the environment. And
Right.
so they like this is obviously super awful for them.
Yeah.
But what was probably more awful for them was the like buyout of media on social platforms during the election,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
would cause like the only way that they can get eyes on their stuff is either if they're sponsoring channels, and that can be a certain amount, right? Or if they have in very much your end of the pool, they have like deep inventory in the items that are people are searching and trying to grab at any one time,
Right,
which
right.
then takes us back to like the things that you are doing. So like, the folks who are like suffering and having to close, it was probably a lot of things, and this is the last thing,
Correct, correct. And
right?
that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say is that I do think that we are going to see, I mean, if this continues much longer, we're going to see, you know, more closures. But I think as these closures happen further and further into the future, those are really going to be like the direct effect of what's going on now. What we're seeing now are closures that are happening because, you know, not having the flexibility with cash flow, all sorts of other things that um, a quote unquote healthy business can weather the storm for. It's like they say, what do they say? Just as when you become an adult, like an adult should have 3 months of salary and savings so that you can weather the storm. It's a great thing to do if you can do it. For situations like this, where suddenly, boom, you're out of a job. You need to be able to sustain yourself while you're looking for a new job, whatever. Something comes along like this that suddenly says, "Hey, we may have some cash flow issues for the next few months. Do we have what it takes to keep things running until things, come back in?"
Yeah, to illustrate that specific point, Princess all showed up last year during the huge hike in shipping. And that was one
Hmm.
of the huge hits that we took on of cash flow. Our shipping container went from $3,800 to $12,800, right? And that's crazy. And like we were running a very healthy business with all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and we were able to do that without making it like so much everybody's problem, right? And
Right.
we were going about that same business. But now with like people showing up, like putting pauses on games for a retailer like you, are you going to be like making sure that there are like hidden gems that you are going to be putting forward? For example, Princess Rado it asked for a copy this last week.
Oh, yeah.
I did not expect it. I expected everybody was like, he's like, hey, I don't know if you know who I am. I'm like, everybody knows who you are, Rado. Like, can I have a copy of Conquest Princess? I was really looking forward to it. I'm like, I like literally to my friends, I was like, is this actually him? Is somebody like
Somebody, yeah.
is somebody like I hope he loves it. But like the interaction with him, like I was surprised like how rural Ireland his address is. I was like, oh my God. But like all right, so if you have a healthy business, let's say you are not obviously in subsistence mode or desperation mode. If you're a small publisher like myself, there are a lot of people who are like, hey, we're turning the shops way down. We're turning everything way down
Yep.
until we can reestablish cash flow. Make like a cockroach.
Yep.
like, like we're selling T-shirts now just to celebrate our feelings. Have you seen any of these?
I've not seen those. No.
You need to see some of these, Kylie. Like, we have this a dumpster fire T-shirt.
I saw the dumpster fire. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, and so it stars like we have like so much art in End of the Line, and we've just like it's all sort of socially relevant right now. So we're doing
yeah.
so you're gonna see people doing interesting things, right? That
Right,
and so yeah, and so but what are you going to be doing? Like you've been running a healthy business and you've been
right.
doing well, and
Yeah,
so what kind of opportunities are you seeing, or what like how are you pivoting in and around
yeah,
this?
yeah.
If you're okay with sharing.
I'm absolutely okay with sharing. Yeah. So one of the differences, retail. we're sort of the last link of the chain, right? Which is, there's a positive and a negative to that. The positive is the chain reactions as publishers close or pause things, that shortage of inventory and the lack of new releases is not something that's going to affect us directly as far as our sales and cash flow until months down the line. So it's like, hey, on the one hand, positive, we just keep going on business as usual. On the other hand, there's not a lot we can do to prepare for that, right? I'm not having to make the really tough decisions of pausing print runs or doing things like that, or we need to shore up cash flow and lay off staff. I don't have to make those decisions. Again, maybe down the line that comes on, but that's going to be a bit more of a slow, that's a slow burn as I start to see, oh, our sales are just slowly decreasing, or I just literally see we don't have inventory to sell. Um, so I got together with my management team, and we sort of ran the numbers and looked at, given that our fear is the holiday season, right? And many people may know, but in case someone watching doesn't, in retail, November and December are when you make all your money. December is like 3 to 6 months at once, all in one, like the last 6 weeks of the year. Like that's when people are buying. It's great. So we just kind of like stay along even keel, often dip into the red for most of the year until December. So when suddenly the threat is December may not be big, either because we don't have inventory, the inventory is going to be more expensive. What's happening as far as just people's willingness to buy games, even if they aren't more expensive, just the whole economy, like that's the thing that scares you, that makes you go, okay, what do we do? So
Let's talk about
yeah,
two important things that I would like you to elaborate, because you
yeah.
say lots of smart things very quickly, Kylie, and I
Sorry.
want to take a moment for each. So excuse my interrupting, but I think it's
It's
very,
okay.
very important for people to understand, because we talked a lot about cash flow. Um, there is okay, we have to spend a lot of money getting ready for October 31st, right?
Mhm.
And that big spend, you talked about dipping into the red, that big spend happens right in that part of the year. Like October is when you are ordering all the things for the reindeer run.
Yes.
And you are trying to like use your crystal ball to see how this is going. And to the second point on the smart things that you were saying, um, gaming is like alcoholic beverages, like spirits, whatever it is. It is fairly recession proof.
Yeah.
People will still come into the game store. Your number of sales will be the same, but what will dramatically change is the ticket item, like how big
Cool.
each transaction is. So now we're looking
Yeah.
at two things. So we're like, oh, how does Kylie predict for a reindeer run that's like insecure? And number
Mhm.
two, how do you stock and adjust your business for again lower ticket items? Even if your profit margin on them is better, if you go from $40 a person a sale to $30,000 a person a sale, and you're
Yeah.
still doing all the things that you're doing, like getting them in, doing all the things that they should be doing. That is a $25 reduction in
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah. So, well, there's a couple points. One, in many ways, what this felt like is, can we get ready for, as you call it, the reindeer run in April? And that's just not realistic. I don't have that much cash. I can't buy the rest of the year's inventory now, because the fear being,
No.
it's not going to be there come September, October. So get it now. Well, that's just not reasonable. I mean, even if I had the cash flow, just the logistics of storing that much stuff, and then you have the getting the right things, right? So much of what I'm getting is like new releases and things that come in, and I get stuff in, I get something new, we play it, we see what's good, and then we decide to go deep on it. So if I were to like stock up now, it's like, well, these are the games for the whole rest of the year. um so we decided basically to like dip into pretty much the entirety of our war chest and say, can we use this to get a 3 month supply of games. Basically, have a stock so that, and we'd get a 3 month supply, but we're also going to replenish that as we can because we're worried about both things disappearing, but also prices going up. And that's a second conversation about the price hikes. But to just have that on hand, but then the question is what? Now, you talked about looking in the crystal ball. It's much more scientific than that. I mean, there's some crystal ball things, but like as I sat down to do this, I have muscle memory on this. I did this last year with the looming, or maybe it was 2 years ago with the looming UPS strike. And I did this in 2021 with the big shipping crisis that was happening post COVID. Like the holiday season, it was like stuff's getting caught up in ports. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, wait, I know how to look at, because we've been in business for so long, I could just look at the metrics. What were the games that sold X number of units over X period of time that look similar to last year? And literally just pull out a spreadsheet. I need, 60 copies of it. Like 60 copies of this game would get me through the next 3 months for that game. And if we're not talking about new releases, particularly when we're
No.
talking about games that have been out for a couple of years, I have no reason to suspect that that number would drop. That game has shown that it steadily moves 60 units in a 3 month period. So
Right.
that's just literally just looking at the numbers and saying, I'm going to get those in. But am I prioritizing the cheaper things? Yes, but at the same time, the cheaper things tend to be the ones that move lots of units, right?
Right.
The $80 game might move 20 units over a 3 month period. So I'm just getting less of that. I'm looking at it not in terms of units, in terms of what the period of time, how much of that do I sell over X period of time.
You are going with proven sellers,
Right,
evergreens, your own track record with your ability, and you are like, hey, this isn't taking chances. What would
right.
be taking a chance is not knowing that this is how many I need to sell.
Right, exactly. Now there were some. So for example, there was a game, really cool game. If you ever get a chance to play it, the Gigamic just put out called Slide. Quick little card game, and we brought it in a couple weeks ago. Played it, was like, this is really cool, but we haven't had a chance. Our big test is like put it on the demo bar, show it to customers. Our customers is excited about it as we are. We hadn't had that chance, but we're like, I don't know if they're gonna print it. I should get a whole bunch now. So that's taking a chance, but it's also like a $15 game.
It's a
So
$15 game.
yeah, it's like this is not really that much of a chance because the risk is because the other thing too is I'm also looking, well, what happens if fingers crossed, magically this all goes away and then things go back to normal. Like love for that to happen. Don't want to be, but then it's like, well, now I've got all this extra inventory. Well, it's just 3 months worth
I've
of
got
inventory.
those are very good points. And I want to take 2 moments for Gen X stories. Are you ready for these, Kylie? I
I'm
feel
ready.
like as a group, we are not celebrated as often, and we are a mystery to people because we're a very small group. But people see us lurking in the corners of their eyes, and this is why. Number one, okay, a Gen X person understands why you don't kick the dragon.
Mm.
Okay. The best example for this, for people who do not understand, is Hong Kong in our lifetime went from a British colony to a property of the People's Republic.
Yeah.
They waited them out. They waited so many years, so many decades. They're like, hey, do whatever you want, Britain. You make all the short term money, you make the infrastructure, the people, you make all these things. And when it hits 2000, we loop out of time. All of that stuff that you developed and all those people and things, those are now coming back to us. They're coming home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you think that the ramifications from this are going to go away, like the long view, like there is only long view
Mhm.
on the other side of the Pacific. They this year marks the world's largest singular manufacturing facility opening in the world. It is 15 square miles in China.
Wow.
It took 15 years to build, and it is larger than the city of San Francisco by landmass.
Wow.
So that kind of long-term vision. So we're gonna feel that. All right.
Right.
Number two. And this is gonna get to my third point. Number two. And when I try to explain the different in viewpoints for various people, um, Gen X people always understood that this could be as good as it gets.
Mm, mm.
On a fundamental level, we understood that the bombs could fall and Mad Max is coming. That you should enjoy things like laughter and clean water because cannibalism is tomorrow.
100%.
So, like seriously. So when you're looking at like, there are other groups who are like, how did this all happen? We look at millennials being the most overeducated to job people in the history of the United States, and that education ended up like not being the factor for what made the difference in all these changes. It ended up being like, could you survive boomers?
Right. Are you still here?
are you still here after all the terrible things that they did to it did to us? I was like, oh, okay. That mindset and moving forward, like, yeah. The third thing that it gets us back to our topic, and thank you for letting me go on my old guy rant, is, and if you disagree, let me know. You're like, oh no, like, yeah, laughter and clean water, yay! All right, so
we set a low bar.
we do set a seriously low bar. Like I had asked people, like reasonably, like, hey, I started doing game design in 1979, and also I started cooking for myself, like breakfast foods and baked goods like cookies and cakes when I was 6.
Yeah.
Without adult supervision. This is not people helping me. This is like, my dad's like, hey, you think that's tough? Think about trying to survive Reconstruction Korea. And so he's like, he seems smart enough. He can bake a chocolate cake. And so it's like, but that being said, in this time of transition, the other thing that we're going to see is people emerge from other places to manufacture games, even if they are coming from Chinese companies finding international partners. Right?
Yes.
And that's going to affect total game quality, perception. Like, it's going to work. Like, these companies are now working on infrastructure in other places for these reasons. And that's going to do interesting things to, and I mean, like Minnesota interesting, like stepping on a bug is interesting, like interesting things to the final products that we end up getting.
Well, I mean, yeah. The thing is, the way game, even just like the past 5 years, much less the past 10 years, like the quality, what we call the quality of the games from a physical material components perspective, just going up and up and up. I think quality of gameplay as well, because we've had so much iteration and things. But
yeah, bigger people making more games.
Exactly, just a bigger
like the
pool.
hive mind actually doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Right.
Like, hey, if you like Catan, you can get that same fun in Machikoro. Like, if you want a smarter Machikoro, play some Mystic Veil. Like, the games iterate over and over again. Hey, you want everything to rotate? Let's do some SETI. Like,
right. But the thing is, when it comes to the material side of the components, it's been an upward trend of what can we do, not what do we need to do, right? So, and obviously the most egregious aspects of this are your big Kickstarter minis heavy, or like love it to death. I just played it a few days ago. The like arcane, not arcane, our Awakened Realms version of Castles of Burgundy, and this sort of stuff. Like, that's all there because we can, and like we've got these great manufacturing facilities in China who are willing to come alongside and say, like, we'll try to do stuff, like that would never be attempted anywhere else in the world in any other manufacturing facility, because that's kind of what they built themselves on. We can innovate, we can do these things, we can do it in a cost-effective way. Cost-effective, again, what is the cost of that Awakened Realms version of Castles of Burgundy? It's not, I mean, I sell it in my store. I don't sell 60 units a quarter of the something like that. Um, so
We'd have a
that
very different conversation if you did. Like, oh
we
my
would, we
god.
would. Although I was listening to a podcast with Joe Wiggins from All Play, and he was like, "I've never seen that in a store," and I'm like, "It's in my store. I do sell it." Um,
Yeah,
but you
there's
know,
that $500 Catan set too. Like people would sell,
which we
right?
also sold. Well, we sold like two, and then clearanced out one. But yes, I mean, there's stuff like that has a market.
Yeah.
Um, but my point is that it's sort of like that stuff exists because it can exist, not because it was necessary for the games industry to continue to evolve and innovate. And so, in fact, I don't remember what I read, but it was a game manufacturer, like a company here in the States that can manufacture games, mostly card games and things like that. And they were like, we can make games, but the hobby games industry is more about making toys than making games, right?
Let's
So,
talk. Let's talk about that for a couple of important points that you made, and let's dissect them a little bit. Number one,
yeah.
Joe in the chat wants to talk about what kind of bugs we're stepping on. I'm a vegetarian, Joe. No bugs were hurt in the making of this show.
Good.
Number one. Number two, the industry, getting to Kylie's point immediately now, tabletop is more than board games. Like Kylie is very board games. I'm obviously very board games. But like Games Workshop, you think they're about miniatures. They're less than like 55% miniatures. They're actually about selling their IP to let other people use. That's their biggest moneymaker so for the one. They also happen to make miniature games that are more tariff resistant. Simultaneously, getting to
Yeah.
the point that Kylie's talking about, the three areas of items that you can make in the United States are books, especially small ones, cards, and Etsy level craft items. Like if your game is an Etsy crafts item, that is also something that third one is very, very weird. But the other two, like zines and like small box card games and tuck boxes, are very makeable in the United States.
Yeah, yeah. But also, because we were talking about looking at manufacturing facilities outside of China, right? At least
Right.
as of today, China's the one with the big tariffs, and everyone else was kind of, dialed back. So I know people are looking at these other manufacturing facilities that can do more than what the US facilities can do. They're not doing Awakened Realms. But again, my point is we could see a scaling back on the production of all that stuff, still done overseas. We just, as the consumer, have to recognize, like, hey, yeah, some of that stuff is just it's too much. It's over. Like some of the things that we've been putting in games, like a scepter that lights up for no reason. Here's looking at you, Puzzle Strike 2. Some of that stuff is just it's just over. We don't need it. And the industry can survive.
What
Now,
are you talking about, Kylie? What are you talking about?
what was
You can still get these, by the way.
you still get those? I remember getting a game and it's like, oh yeah, did you know the Kickstarter version has the miniatures go on a thing that makes noise. Like the monsters actually growl because you put it on like, so
Oh
there's
my
just
gosh.
so much of that. Again, completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Fun and great. Love that it exists. Would love for it to continue to exist. But as far as like industry collapsing, what
Yeah.
I'm hearing is like we can find ways to go to other manufacturing and get stuff good quality, just
Yeah.
not that crazy.
All right. So
Well,
you hit a very, very important thing that people should think about, especially if they're thinking about game design or the industry and so forth and whatnot. Why these extravagant, crazy ass items are not only because they're cool, but to give people who love a specific title a way to show their love even more, right?
Yeah.
Like I am going to continue down this road with this title, like, Fancy Castles of Burgundy. Was the original
Mhm.
version or the whatever sufficient enough to play the game? Absolutely, right?
Yes.
But this is my jam. This is how I identify, and
Right.
and those kinds of high end items can only exist if there is the ability to manufacture it, and there's an audience and the ability to get to that audience to let them know. So we're going to see a shift to humbler production. I would definitely say, like, less
Yep.
ambitious, like, but there's plenty of space for that. Like, game
Mhm.
innovation can happen. A lot of, like, Scout is a perfect example. Game innovation. There's plenty of places to spend time in and around that. Like,
Right.
the era of zombicide collectible crazy, maybe that will suffer a much bigger shift.
Yeah.
Like, do you need a Galactus the size of a toddler?
Right, right. Well, and frankly, like we've been talking about that declining before all of this mess. Because again, that's a whole other issue. But like, for the exact same reason, do we need all of that? You
Our
know.
tabletop hero Steven says yes, he absolutely needs that in his life. Uh, all right, so there's two things we're seeing, and we've been seeing this for a while, and this goes back to my earlier point. Like a deviation from what retailers can like put in their shop, and yours
Mhm.
is a fantastic successful shop, so you can have like the high end burgundies or catans and so forth on, because people are going to the destination place to find that perfect crazy ass gift for somebody or whatever it is,
Right,
or this
right.
gift for themselves, so over the whatnot. But then simultaneously, uh, like companies that are all direct to consumer for their specific games, their kind of stuff. Do they have enough margin to make it? Are people as excited about that kinds of stuff? Like, and all of that touches other items that people don't usually think about. We are in the current media cycle where people who are just saying things like, this is not a political post, these are just the state of the like, whatever it is. But we have been for a while rubbing up against the fact that there's a housing crisis and board games got really big.
Hmm.
Like, your
Yeah.
collection takes up a lot of room, right? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
and how, like, what does that do? So, like, does Games Unlimited have a board game library? Do you like let people rent them out or like take them with them?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you see that as something that is also going to be a change in the next X number of months?
I mean, I've heard that from other retailers. Like, really, it's funny. It's the opposite of what happened during COVID, right? In COVID, it was the stores that were so focused on events. They made their money off of the events and people coming in and getting butts and seats and selling snacks and doing tournaments. They were like, what do? We have to pivot to retail, right? And what we're seeing now is like, well, if we don't have things to sell, can we pivot to events, right? I've heard people say, lean into events. I've also heard people say, lean into used games, which I think I probably do as much, if not more, used board games than anyone else. And I can tell you, I do a lot of it. It's not going to pay the bills. Definitely lean into it. I think every store should lean into it for a variety of reasons, but I can't. My entire business model can't switch to used games, and also lean into this sort of thing, having a board game library, a rental library, or something like that. We do so. It's a thing we've talked about our last two quarterly management meetings. We have a huge library, which is really the library of games that I want to one day hopefully play, but they can't stay at my house, so they stay at the store. Um, but but we don't have a use for it. The idea being that will be used when eventually we open our event space because we don't have event space. We've been working on opening event space for the past 4 years. That has to do with permitting in the city of Pittsburgh, and that's just the thing. So, but like, could we use that? Before we moved into our current space, we did have a rental library. We did do that. Realistically, again, the logistics of it, what we didn't take it back up again when we moved to the new space. We're doing 3 to 4 times as much business. We literally just could not. The logistics
No.
of doing it wouldn't work. And again, I did it because it was a way of creating more gamers, and I've learned I can create more gamers with the other stuff that we're doing. And I do, again, I don't see that as being huge, a huge revenue stream. Definitely a thing that could help, just like with used games, just like with events. But pivoting your whole
Let's talk.
business around it
Let's talk
is a
about that.
different.
It, understanding what business model that works for is very, very important. Not everything
Mhm.
works for everybody. Kylie's story, like, I am very excited about my trip to Pittsburgh to see the demo bar, your space, everything. Our creative director just moved to Pittsburgh, actually not very far from you,
Ooh,
like
ooh.
point 0.9 miles or something. So
Oh,
you're gonna end
nice.
up seeing Mark more often. But like game cafes, where a
Mhm.
person they're about either renting space plus like food items that it sounds
Yeah.
like hey, come enjoy that. But of course, like the relaxicons, and particularly the big relaxicons like PAX Unplugged or PAX East is coming up, thrive on these environments where people just show up to play all the games that they don't necessarily get to see. So there are environments where people are like, hey, I'll give you $150 PAX Unplugged to be in Philly to hang out with my friends and then just explore a game library and maybe some shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a thing that would become much more viable if, again, just getting product is hard, right? If I don't have things to sell you, I've got to do some other thing um, in order to create the gaming atmosphere, but also create a revenue stream around it.
Yeah.
Um, Now, another interesting thing we could possibly talk about, because this was the other part, besides stocking up, we had to make decisions about what do price increases look like, right? As we start to hear that prices may be going up, we've already had some publishers increase prices preemptively, right? Basically, with the idea that this stuff that they're about to have to pay for, in order to restock the stuff that people are buying now, it's actually going to cost me more to restock it. And in order to keep cash flow going, we should raise the price now because we buy the restock and have very little operating expenses left over.
All right.
What's
Bad
been,
Thorn makes a very interesting point that I think you and I should talk about.
sure.
He was talking about it's hard to be a fan of board games right now because all the projects I was really excited about are now on hiatus.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is a very important thing that I don't think it's stated enough for people. When a game store shuts down, the people who were the fans or the community of that game store stop going to game stores. They don't go, I now need to migrate.
Hmm.
That is not the way. Somebody, if you're going to shut you down your game store, you should raid into another game store that you like in your area to give these people a community and a place to like feel good about. In the same way, like crowdfunding did not need another like punch in the teeth. Like its hardcore audience now are feeling the suffering from, hey, I did all this thing, and not because of the publisher doing something bad.
Hmm.
Like the universe has done this thing,
Yeah.
and now I'm out. Like, if depending on how hardcore you are, I'm out a significant amount of money in projects that might not show up. Right?
Right.
Like,
Hmm.
and like small publishers or medium publishers, they can't take that shift in lack of confidence just in board games. It's not even about them.
Hmm.
It's not even about the idea of crowdfunding. It's like this moment of pause that somebody shut down, and in this case, like the internet, somebody shut down my favorite place to buy the crazy ass
Hmm.
items, right? And that means those folks are gonna like find someplace, some place or something else,
Right.
and
Some
hopefully
other
that
activity
is,
to spend their money on.
or hopefully it's
Yeah.
just like feel good T-shirts from former publishers, like whatever. No, but like we are all in it together, and the
Yeah.
bad experience that a person has in one place will turn them off to gaming. We know, like games are not for me is because somebody had a bad experience either early in their game experience or in their
Hmm.
childhood with learning or with games or whatever that made them make a decision. not
Right.
realizing that there's been like, you know, fucking 40 years, I mean, 40 years of innovation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's, I mean, it's the same reason that I, you know, model Games Unlimited the way I have. Like, not saying I had bad experiences going to game stores. I didn't have bad experiences, but they were focusing on games that weren't for me, and I didn't
Right.
know about the breadth of options out there, which are huge. So, yeah, yeah, it can be hard to be a fan, but I'm also like, there's still so many games. There's so many games.
Well, it's our opportunity to check in with your favorite local game store.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, the relationship between the retailers and those folks who either went into hibernation or survived the hibernation period. That's going to be an interesting thing coming out. Like, the big publishers, especially if they have an international presence, will have like a different environment with
Right.
this, right?
They have other
Especially
places they can
like,
sell.
and they're just a huge like hedge fund, whatever, bought the like, they have it, they have a different relationship with this whole thing, and they're just waiting it out to be able to crash in. And but what they're looking at then is those people who are on hiatus who will not make it. Those titles will end up being scooped up by these people
Hmm.
who have opportunity,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
these people are like, hey, I'm not doing anything with this, whatever it is, I'm done, because like working so hard and seeing it taken from you because of no reason, like because you did not know that you built your house on a floodplain. Like,
Right,
this is
right,
not something that we thought was a thing. We'll take the people's wins out of the sales, but the community, the love for these titles, that will persist in a good way, will persist beyond it. So we are going to see either medium people get larger
right,
taking these
right.
opportunity, or large people just going, yep.
Well, and that's also one of the reasons why, when I talked about doing my stock up, my goal right now is for as long as I possibly can for my average customer who doesn't read my newsletters, not watching the TikTok live, who's walking in once a month and going, "Hey, what's cool and new?" and I'm buying a game and leaving. I want them to be like nothing changed, right?
That's
I've
great.
still got inventory on the shelf because I don't want them to feel like the thing that they love is falling apart. Things are getting way more expensive. It's maybe just not worth it anymore. Because again, I'm hoping this is a thing that can be weathered long term, and I want them to just be able to continue to interact with this hobby the way they have, without, you know, again, privileged position, by using what I have, the particular gifts that I have, being able to warehouse a lot more games, being able to buy a lot more games, to keep things business as usual for as long as I can.
It's stability. Like,
Yes,
fun
to
is
keep some
based on,
stability.
yeah, you cannot have fun if you feel unsafe. Now, this
Yeah,
ended up happening with a lot of retailers during the dark ages. If the very front of your store was reminding people about the fact that we are in the middle of like an unprecedented health crisis, that has effects of people as they walk in the store,
hmm,
right? We want things to be informed. Like, we want to let people know, like, diverse voices are like in publishing are like affected more by this current situation because they were already on the fringe in India to begin with,
yeah,
right? Like, and the larger people are more insulated. But we do want to like let people know that, but you don't lead with that. That is not the thing. You want people to walk in, have fun, and then say if they have spoons enough to take on this kind of stuff. Like,
yeah,
you'll see me say this like over and over for God knows, like, joy is a protest.
yeah, yeah.
Remember to cultivate joy. Like, if you make the steps, like, you think it sounds simple, but the thing to produce fun, as somebody who's been professional for making people enjoy stuff, there are a lot of steps into it that, if you think about it, they make the quality of your life better. And it's not inherently as easy as, well, just do it. Like,
Right,
it's like, I'm not going to be my dad. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. Like,
right, right, right. Well, I mean, I did the same thing. Like, the first couple days after all this started, like, I was not in a good place, and my
Mm,
customers saw that, and I was just like, after a couple
mm.
days, I was just like, you know what, I need to just kind of buck up, and I've got my people that I can vent to, but it doesn't have to be my customers. They come in
Nope.
here to have fun, to find something, often to find respite from all the crap that's going on. And we've unfortunately seen way too much need for that over the past little while.
Like the connection with others. All right, so the connection with others is real, and we're going to see more of that. I think local conventions are going to go. Relaxicons are going to continue to expand. Gaming as a whole is going to continue to expand. People who were like worry free or did not have a lot of upset before, and there'll be new opportunities for them. All those things will persist. This Christmas will be about discovering titles more than the new hotness. Like, hopefully, that helps me out a lot. I'm excited
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
But there's a lot of awesome stuff. Like, with more than 4,800 SKUs coming out every year, there's actually room enough for
Hmm.
people to discover new kinds of things. Uh,
Yes.
like, um, yeah, the hype trains and how people are participating in those kinds of things. We're going to see content creators who've been honing their craft be more essential because if they survived all this kinds of stuff, people
Yeah,
are going to
yeah.
go to those places. All those kinds of things. We're going to see a refinement as people continue to get better and remember to innovate. But all of those things have to do for us as an industry, reminding people that we sell fun at the end of the day.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I like the idea. It's
yeah.
like, this is the opportunity to dive into the shelf of opportunity, right?
It is. It is, right? And to like, hey, this game was never for me. Maybe it's now for somebody else. There's swaps, like all this other kinds of stuff. The events of bringing people together.
Yeah.
We're going to see role playing games continue to rise because,
Yes. Ooh.
like, role playing is so cheap to begin with. The
Yes.
manufacturer of that books is not going to, like, it's not going to upset their apple cart. Zines are really cheap to make.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're going to see a lot of that going on. The events centered around people getting a chance to play and explore new role playing games. That those are going to continue. I see like shopping conventions, and I've said this before. Gen Con's going to be awkward this year. Like people show up to Gen Con knowing they can sell to the like alpha gamers this elite set
Hmm.
and make back the huge expense that convention is. And this year, that's going to be different because do they have those huge sets and
Right.
like, and do people have the confidence that they can come to buy,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, again, these are the issues that like I don't have much control over, sadly, but it also means I don't have to make those hard decisions. I hadn't thought about, I'm thinking I'm so focused on the holidays, and I know that interruption in production right now, like if it continues for more than a couple more weeks, that's when it really starts to hit the holidays. But interruption in production right now, Gen Con, like you got a new release that's supposed to happen at Gen Con, it's done, and that's whew, yeah.
yeah, I my the 3 night heist was all ready to hit the green button, and then all this stuff happened, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess I can't do that. And then our normal manufacturer for most of our titles is Panda, and Panda
Mhm.
has some announcement on how they're trying to do
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. So I've been waiting up for that, which of course then makes me afraid that I will get crushed by the next shipping crisis,
Right.
right? And it's
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah.
my gosh, I just can't catch a break. That's why people should buy T-shirts.
But I do gotta say, like, I was driving back from this convention, and my partner asked me, what was your highlight this year? And I've known this all along. The publishers in this industry are so cooperative. And I talked to so many of them and saw so many of them talking about they're sharing every bit of information they can, every creative idea that they've got. This isn't like, oh, you talked about, taking advantage of the situation. This isn't taking advantage like, oh, I now know something and I can put myself to the top of the chain. No, this is, we are all passionate about this hobby and this industry is under attack and we are going to pull together and figure it out. And
All right,
I
we
love to
haven't
see that.
talked about this yet, but we'll close out with this and then we'll do wrap up. But if folks are publishers, Jamie Stegmeyer is getting a class action suit together, and you
Saw
should
that.
go look up what that is about. And the time frame that is like immediately, like that is getting put together in the next week. So if you are somebody who's been impacted by the current situation, this is something that you should at least take a moment to go and look at. Yeah, just like 100%. Go take a look at it. And this is an example of how collaborative games are. Like, as an industry, everybody understands when you make a gamer, that gamer's for everybody. And when you bring somebody closer into the hobby or farther along the hobby, that person is now a better citizen for everybody. And we're trying to do that, be it like Gamma really also proves that. Like, if folks wanted to know what like being in the industry is like and wanted to start, like Gamma is a really good place to start and like talk to everybody because people have
Mhm.
time. They will help you. They want you to succeed. I did a seminar not this past year, but the previous year about hiring for your game store.
Mm.
And like the weird end of like HR for Game Store and like, okay, this is how you should be doing this kind of thing. And somebody came up to me this year and said, "Hey, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this seminar this year?" And I'm like, "Well, there was a lot of things going on and Gamma didn't approve it." He's like, "You saved my business. I was going to close my business, but then I did all the things that you said, and now I'm opening a second place. I really
Wow.
wanted you to know that."
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and we have
And
so much of that in this
it's
community.
all like that is not a unique story. That is like
Yeah.
my favorite version of this is also Grant Lyon. Like Grant comes from entertainment, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it is ruthless. Like the idea of helping someone else is such like a surprising thing. And then when he came to
Mhm.
gaming, like everybody wants you to help you, and everybody wants you to succeed. He kept on wondering, like, hey, are they all like putting me on? Is this like a big group conspiracy?
Yeah, it is not a cutthroat industry.
No,
No.
yeah,
Not
like
for, not
I
for
had
most
so
tiers.
yeah, no, like occasionally you'll get municipalities where not all
Yeah.
the stores get along, but there are a lot of there. It becomes more and more the cities that do have a lot of like Minneapolis. All the stores get along, and there's 23
Mhm.
of them.
Wow, that's
Like
crazy.
it's crazy. Like we are not that big. That 23 stores can exist. Like and we all get along. Like seven of them are games by James, but still, like it's crazy. It's
That's
crazy. It's
nuts.
crazy.
That is nuts.
Okay. All right. Final thoughts to share with people about retail, the reindeer run coming up. Like, it sounds to me like, hey, if your basics are in order and you are running your business like a business, you will have less problems with this than other people. That's what I'm hearing from you. What else you got for me?
I mean, that's always true, no matter what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I think, leaning into the one aspect of educating my customers that I do is like basically new release everything we have like pre-orders on our like coming soon page, new releases, like don't depend on that anymore. Better to spend your money on something you want now than saying, no, I'm saving this for that other thing because we don't know if that other thing's coming. It's changing constantly. So, and then
Yeah,
it's
clean water, laughter. We like
exactly.
enjoy clean water. Cannibalism is next Tuesday,
It's
Kylie.
exactly. And it's always been the case. As much as I hate it, because I'm not a hard sell person, but like it's always the case with particularly board games in the tabletop industry. Like,
Right.
you side this week, maybe gone next week. Don't wait.
Yeah. Oh,
But
especially if
now
there's a
it's
deal on something.
right,
Like,
especially if there's a deal.
right.
But now it's a lot of it's the don't wait because prices may go up. right? So, but yeah, just as far as for stores, if you can stock up, definitely do that. You constantly um, reading every solicitation. I mean, distributors, publishers are going to be sending out information on how they're handling things. Everybody's doing it differently, and the more you can know, the more you can sort of take advantage, if you will, right? I don't like being on all the social medias all the time. My mental health can't
Mm-mm,
handle it. But,
mm-mm,
you know,
mm-mm,
the last week, I
mm-mm,
got to know this has happened. I need to take immediate steps.
mm-mm.
So that's also important right now. But another thing, like if you can do it, one of the things I've been doing is ordering stuff, again, I have enough in reserve that I can order some stuff, maybe literally even more than I need or want, because I'm trying to support those publishers. And because I know they're worried about their cash flow. So like, you know what, let's get this in now. Let's go ahead and do this. I may not need, a 6 month supply of this game, but I know you need me to buy a 6 month supply. That could be helpful right now. And it's not gonna crush me to do it. So because
We appreciate that. So that gives us a very important point. If folks are fans of indie publishers or favorite local game stores, let them know that they're doing a good job. Back to the beginning of
yeah.
this conversation. Let them know that you've affected their life, or they've affected your lives in a positive way, and that you are rooting for them.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how much this business is about. I care about the people and I care about what I'm doing, and that is why I am here.
Yeah.
And having that taken away from you is soul crushing. If folks are a fan of the Wednesday Board Game Live and the stuff that we do, Fight in a Box did start a fourth wall. It's $2. It's $2. A fourth wall is like a Patreon,
Okay.
but it
Okay.
has the ability to make merch. It is
Okay.
a merch store plus Patreon put together. If you want to help us out with that, we would very greatly appreciate that. Also, if you see any of the crazy ass shirts that we're making, when you see them, please tag us in those and celebrate the fact. And those are little things, go really far, even if you don't have the financial wherewithal to help others. Like, you would be really surprised. Contributing to environments that spark joy is a way to help.
100%.
Yeah. All right, Kylie. Anything else you'd like to share? What else you got coming up on your channels, your content, things that people can look forward to?
I don't know. So we are going to be starting a podcast in the next couple of months, focused on running a game store. So I, looked out. I noticed there's a lot of podcasts about publisher focused, getting into the games industry. I was like, we need something about running a game store. So Chandra and I are looking forward to getting that up.
That's
and running over the next
amazing.
few
Make
months.
sure you get Gary Ray on there. Please have me as a guest. I would love to be a guest on your podcast. That would be absolutely incredible. If folks don't already follow Kylie on TikTok and on social media, he does a great way of counting things down and telling you why they matter and putting these things together in a very goat-footed balloon man sort of way. And that is what I love. Get sneaking some E.E. Cummings for you millennials who do not realize what I just did. It's fantastic. All right, for Fight in a Box, we're going to continue. I haven't picked either the new topic or the guest for next week. I will try to figure that out. But if you like game design is actually really cheap. You can follow Fight in a Box for the board game design tip for the day. 15 seconds about things you should think about in and around your game design. This past month has been solely dedicated to how to find a publisher and how to interact with them when you do, which has been a great topic. Otherwise, say goodbye, Kylie.
Goodbye, Kylie. Oh, and goodbye,
everybody. Everybody, please stay safe and have fun, and we'll see you next week for the Wednesday Board Game Live. Bye, everybody.
Take care.